welcome back to my channel, or welcome to my channel if you are new here. My name is Lorena. I do mommy lifestyle and beauty videos. Today is a lifestyle, I guess. Today I'm going to be talking about my traumatic nose piercing experience. So before we get into everything, I want to disclaim that I'm not going to be saying which shop I got my nose pierced at, because although it was a traumatic experience, I don't want to call out the pierce, and I don't want to call out the shop because I don't have a beef with the shop. So let's get into it. I got my nose pierced like a week ago, like 9 days ago. I've been wearing that fake one. If you saw other videos, that ring that I had was actually a fake nose piercing. I wanted to see how other people in my life reacted to it, and then I wanted to see if I liked it, although that ring was a little bit big. Like if I do get a ring, it's not going to be that big. So I ended up going with one of my girlfriends. She was thinking about it, but then she ended up not, and then it's a good thing that she didn't, because after she saw me do it, she was like, oh hell no, I'm not gonna get my nose pierced now. So we went, and when we got there, they were all eating. Like, it's a tattoo shop, so everyone was like outside eating lunch. No one was in the shop. I just went up and I said, I want my nose pierced, please. Like, I didn't know what to say. And then they pointed to like a certain guy, I guess, who does the piercings, and the guy just like sat there with a straight face and was like, what do you want? And I was like, my nose pierced. And he's like, you have to get 2. I was like, 2? He's like, you have to get 2. And this is like in front of all the other people in the shop, or like all the workers in the shop who are sitting outside in front of their shop. And I was like, 2 nose piercings? And he's like, 2 something, your friend or your sister has to get 1 too. And at that point she already decided against it. She wasn't gonna get anything. So I was like, I hate being put on the spot like that. It's so uncomfortable. So I was just like I didn't know what to say. And then they all start laughing, and he's like, no, I'm just kidding. And then he finally gets up from his chair and like walks to the shop with me. And then whatever, I was like, oh, ha ha ha, that's funny. It's not funny. So I sit in the chair, and I thought like, okay, so my only other experiences with piercings are my like 10 different ear piercings, and I got them all at Claire's. So, you know, Claire's not a great place to get your ears pierced, but at Claire's, you know, they sit down with you, you have to sign papers, they talk about like where you want it, they do the dot, make sure it's like where it is, you get to pick out the jewelry. It's like a whole process, right? When I got there, he just told me to sit on the chair, and I just sat there. There was no like signing of papers, there was no like, okay, what jewelry do you want? Nothing. So I was telling him, like, I was like, okay, well, frick, I better be the one to say something. So I was like, I want a hoop. And then I was asking him like where on the nose I want it, which is good that where I wanted it was the place that he would have recommended anyways. But he was saying like, I don't recommend a hoop because it's gonna heal at a curve, you're gonna run into problems. And he's like, but whatever you want. So I was like, okay. I was like, I don't mind it healing at a curve because I only want to wear a hoop. Like, I don't want a stud. And he's like, no, you're gonna run into problems. Trust me, I've been doing this for 30 years. So it's not my choice then. So I was like, all right, whatever. Like, I'm not gonna argue with the professional. So I was like, all right, whatever, like a stud's not gonna be that bad. But then I didn't have a say in the size of the stud that I want. So I mean, now it's like whatever. But to me, when he first put it in, I'm like, that's freaking huge. Because everything, like if you know me, everything that I wear, that I want is very dainty. So this to me felt like a really big piece of jewelry. And then of course I didn't even see it until after the piercing was done. So anyways, let's fast forward. He's like cleaning the area. He doesn't do the dot, which I'm not sure if people do the dot. I just know that Claire does the dot. So he's like cleaning the area, and then I'm nervous. He sticks, there's like a metal like tube or something. I don't know what all these things are for, so this is not the video if you want to be educated on that. But he sticks this like tube up my nose, and then he goes in with this like pin needle that looks like it's like this long, and he pierces it through, and it's freaking sore, okay? Because again, my only other experience is with Claire's with a gun, which the guns are not good, although they are like really quick and make it not painful. But because they're not using a gun, he's using his hand, obviously. He has to go slowly. I don't know if he has to go slowly, but he did go slowly. And I literally could feel the needle just going through every single freaking layer of my skin, and it was so sore. And then it was done because he put the needle through, and I'm like, okay, cool. And I'm just sitting there. I like had my eyes closed the entire time. And then after that, he got the jewelry, the nose stud, and it's the one that's like straight and then it has like a curve, like a spiral. Is it called a corkscrew piercing? I don't know what it's called, but it's the one that's like straight, and then inside there's like that C shape to keep it in your nose, right? That's an important thing to remember for later. So he put that in there, or because it's like a weird shape, you have to like finesse it in and then like shove it. So he used these like, what did Austin call it? Whatever. These like the scissor thingies that you can like clamp the jewelry with. So he used that, but like it wasn't working. It wasn't working. I literally felt like my face like go like this, because he was twisting it so hard that like I could feel my neck just like turning. It was so painful. I start crying out of my left eye, and he's like, are you okay? And I'm like, like I was in so much pain. And then he like goes away for a second, and he comes back with a paper towel, and he's like squeezing my nose, and he's like, okay, hold this here. So I'm like holding a paper towel, squeezing my nose. I'm assuming I'm bleeding if there's a paper towel on my nose. And I'm like, what the fuck? Like, if I'm squeezing my nose, that must mean that there's no piercing in there, which means he needs to do that again. And I was right. So he had to do the entire process again. He had to literally shove the thing up my nostril, pierce my nose. Of course, that like wasn't as bad because there was already a hole there, but it was still very sore because it's like freshly pierced skin. So it was still sore. I could still feel the entire thing. And then when he had to put the nose piercing in, it felt, I know it wasn't, but it felt so like violent. It felt so painful and violent and like harsh, but I know it's just because it was like a very raw like nose piercing. But it was sore, okay? It was freaking sore. And then at that point, I'm like in my head saying like, you went through labor and delivery, you pushed a baby out of your vagina, like you are fine, like this is fine, the pain's gonna end soon, it's okay. And I had to tell myself to not cry. Like I had tears streaming down my face just because I couldn't help it, but it was so sore to the point where if I let myself, I could have been like crying, like actually like crying and like sobbing. That's how sore it was. And just to put it into perspective, I got 2 tattoos yesterday and I didn't cry. I didn't get the numbing cream. The tattoos were okay. Like my husband just held my hand and we just like talked while I was getting the tattoos. But this nose piercing, I was like crying with tears streaming down my face that I could not help. And I wasn't moving, right? I'm like, I'm not trying to touch my face when someone's trying to pierce my nose. So like, I just had to let the tears stream down my face and tell myself like, do not cry any more than you already are. And the guy, I think, started to feel really bad because he's like, are you okay? Like, he said, I got you, it's okay. And I'm like, okay, do you got me though? Because like, apparently my nose is bleeding and I'm sobbing. So yeah, but anyways, it was done. I saw the jewelry and I was like, ugh, that's really big. And I guess, yeah, that's my fault for not asking if I had a choice in the jewelry beforehand. But at the same time, as the professional, I feel like that's your job to inform your client, in my opinion, especially me being a professional makeup artist. I don't assume that my client is gonna tell me what lip color she wants. I'm gonna ask her. You know what I mean? I'm not just gonna go in with what color I think looks best. I'm gonna ask her what she wants. I felt like it was his responsibility to ask me, unless there was no option. But then in my opinion, again, it's just my opinion, he should have said like, okay, for the stud, this is the only size that we either carry, or this is the only size option there is for the first one. If you want another one, you have to wait X amount of weeks or months before you can change it out, and I recommend a 14 karat whatever, you know what I mean? Like, I recommend a nickel free whatever. Like, there was none of that. And I guess my personality, I like that. I like being informed. I like having the person who's supposed to be the professional inform me on what I need to know or what I should do. So I was just kind of bummed that I didn't get that experience. So we left. It was sore for like an hour. And then 2 days later, this is a complete accident. This has nothing to do with the shop, nothing to do with anything. But 2 days later, my son, we were playing, and I guess we just like got too much into playing. And I don't even know what happened. I don't know if it was his hand, his fingers, a pillow, something, I don't know, hit my face and like ripped the piercing like 90% out of my nose. I'm gonna try to put up a picture of what the piercing looks like to show you how much force you would need to have to yank the entire thing in one swift motion out of your nose, because it's straight and then it curves. So for it to, like, it curves to prevent it from falling out of your nose. That was really fucking sore. Like, it happened and I instantly started like tearing. It was like hanging out of my nose. I didn't know what to do. I couldn't touch it. It was so sore. And just so happened my brother was over that night, who volunteers in the ER. He's like on his path to med school. So he, like, I trust him with all this kind of stuff. So I asked him to come back to the bathroom. I sanitized, or not sanitized, but I just went in with the saline solution and a Q-tip to like wipe my nose area and my kind of like the piercing, because it came out, right? So I did that, and then I of course washed my hands. He washed his hands and put gloves on, and we were trying to shove it back in, and it took, I swear, at least 30 minutes to try to get it in because it was so painful. And it was out for 30 minutes, and I swear I feel like the piercing, like the hole started to close a little bit. I don't know if that's just in my brain or not, but I feel like it did because it was so hard to put it back. So we had to, my husband looked up YouTube videos on how to put it back, and it was freaking painful. And it's hard because the piercing is so small, but also so like weirdly shaped that you have to curve it in, like you have to push it back in and then push it straight. And it was hard because all of our fingers weren't grasping the, like, all you had to grab was this little stud right here to like twist it. And when the piercer pierced it, he used those like clampy scissor type thing, and I don't have that. My parents do, and they live up the street, but at that point I wasn't ready to ask my brother to go drive to go get it. So what I ended up doing, like 29 minutes into it, was I ended up getting my lash applicator, like not tweezers, but like the lash applicator. I cleaned it, I sanitized it, I wiped it with alcohol, I sanitized my nose again, and then I used that to like finesse it in. And I literally just had to do it myself. I thought it would be better if someone else did it, but I had to do it myself even though it was so painful. So I just twisted it. I twisted it and I shoved it back in. I was like tearing, saying ow, 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 ow the entire time I was doing it, but I finally did it and it's back. Yeah, that is my nose piercing experience. It's only been 9 days and all of that happened in the last 9 days, but it's still there. I'm gonna wait. The guy said to wait 4 to 6 weeks before I change it out to a hoop, but I feel like I'm gonna wait 4 to 6 months. Tell me down below if you have a nose piercing, if 4 to 6 weeks sounds like an appropriate amount of time before you take out your piercing and then put a new one in. Also, put down below if you guys know of any places that I can get like really good quality dainty nose rings, because I need to find those. Yeah, but all right, that's gonna be it for today's video. A little chit chat. I hope you guys enjoyed it. Don't forget to subscribe down below if you haven't already. Turn on post notifications. Give this video a big thumbs up. Go ahead and follow me on Instagram, and I'll see you guys in next week Monday's video. Love you. Bye.